Well, it's awesome to welcome to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod a bloke who's played a few times against South Africa, beaten South Africa a few times, won a World Cup, and is highly regarded as one of the greatest to ever do it. Aaron Smith, welcome to the Aotearoa Rugby Pod. Great to have you on.
It's great to be here. It's been a few years in the making, but just honoured it. And after an exciting morning of footy, it's good to be here.
Where'd you watch it?
Woke up ready to watch it and saw the anthems and the run out, and then sort of was lying there pretty comfy and had the iPad going, and then saw the haka, and then there was that little bit in between, and then next minute I wake up, it's 10-12 half time, and oh wow. So yeah, went back to sleep, turned it off, and then just woke up and watched the full replay again, and it was just wow.
It was two completely different games. What did you take out of it as far as the All Blacks performance and what you liked and what you think needs to improve a little bit there?
A lot of those test players for the Springboks hadn't played in a long time, and I was quite like, they looked like they hadn't played a big game in a long time, and I think our boys were like more battle-hardened, more adapt to the conditions, but also just had been playing rugby recently. They'd all played within a couple of weeks and had a run and been in Africa, and but man, what a test, what an occasion. The silence for the haka, like I was blown away by that, like early chat on that from Rassie and people, and the respect that was shown. But didn't matter that in the past if they'd cheered during it, but like it was a pretty special moment, like Ellis Park and a silent crowd. The planes flying over, the Orlando's 100th, like man, like it's Peter Steph the Toy's 100th next week, so that'll be crackers too in Cape Town, and so, and then just the game itself. I think the funniest thing I heard that 22 minutes, Jeff Wilson was saying like everyone's fatigued, and like that's the old Ellis Park altitude hit, and it like you could just see the like vigor out of the game kind of left, but it just became a good old fashioned ding dong, and geez, it was a war of attrition. TMOs, which is taking over the game, and then but man, just some mean moments. So I thought Will Jordan had like his best test. Like he's had games where he scored more tries or things like that, but just absolutely him, Geordie Barrett, and some of our forwards, and then obviously the front row that came on sort of early, and then in that second half was pretty incredible. So by no means will All Blacks be sitting there thinking that it's done, but Springboks would be a lot better having one under their belt as well. So next week's going to be a cracker.
I guess you playing and having a lot of success against the South Africans. What are the All Blacks going to feel with this second test match against the South Africans? The intensity is probably going to go up, the execution is going to go up, but how do you front foot it and being able to prepare for that, knowing that that's going to come?
We did struggle a little bit to gain momentum off our forward pods. We were pulling it out the back to kind of attack sort of even numbers. So, both teams they didn't show much, like if they lost momentum or didn't gain much off the first 2 or 3 phases, they kicked. And it was sort of the picture of the game. And then when a mistake happened, they get to the 22 and like strike. But yeah, the game's going to be a bit more open next time, I think, and a bit more rugby played. I think people just don't understand the fatigue level of Ellis Park. Like you have to run up a 40-meter tunnel for like run down to warm up, run back up, run back up a half. Like it's like all these little things, and then plus just the nerves of that, the heat, the crowd. Like it would have just been an emotional dump for the boys of like what an occasion, and what did it feel? Sort of 15 months of build up to that moment. Like it was just pretty special, and but yeah, like I said, like I think the South Africans will be a lot better. The Mal got footage of each other. Some of the South African attack in moments look pretty dangerous and pretty brutal, but also the All Blacks are going to be a lot better at what they did. And, even I know Roigard didn't score the try, but that kind of one little spill will go through Damien. Like if we can create more of those opportunities, opening them up and like finishing them, like it's one bounce of the ball that didn't make that try happen, but yeah, still a little bit baffled at that. I know both teams were trying to play really aggressively, but how many points did we turn down off the boot? Like I'm like, geez, Jordan Love looks like he's just like a rocket off the boot, and it's like pretty much money. And if you think about Ellis Park, I was like, man, that's 2 minutes. Like, that's 90 seconds maybe for a rest as well. So, yeah, it's just one of those things. But they've got through the hardest game, and just throws this like whole series into like a pretty awesome spot.
You talk around the emotional dump, because it is a big occasion. You talk around probably 11 months in the making. There's so much media, there's so much hype considering this greatest rivalry. What was the biggest thing that you would find for the next week? Because you've given so much into that week preparation-wise. There's so much emotions with it, and not having a dud the next week. Were there any things that you guys talked around with the mental skills or the leadership group drove to be able to try and get that, I guess, that same intensity, not being able to drop that level? Because it is hard to get that emotional element consistently on a day-to-day basis or test week to week.
Well, I think in my early career of playing in Ellis Park, when it was the old rugby championship format, we only played them once, so that week was about trying to get some sleep as much as you could, like to change your body clock. We'd always fly from Argentina. But then in 2022, when we went over there and we played, and we had 2 in a row, but the boys have been there. Like, for us, it was actually just trying to get to that point of like sleeping well. You're like primed to conditions, used to the altitude. Not like you ever get used to it, but felt like the second week, our boys we look pretty, agile, fast, playing at skill. But they're going to be just after a proper test match, it's going to be like, they're both going to be battle hardened. But I'll be honest, I don't watch many coaches, presses and that, but when I hear Dave Rennie speak, I feel like I'm getting the honest truth, educated, and a pretty honest view of what he wants and that. And I think that's really been really refreshing, and I've really enjoyed that. So Gilbert and Oka's back in there. They'll be him and Renz and the whole crew and their leadership group. Like I said, that emotional dump of getting over that first hurdle. It was an interesting game. A lot, charge downs, just impromptu tries, but South Africa did leave a lot out there. And, the amount of drop balls in the 22 was pretty out the gate, and that won't happen as much next week. But, they're going to look at some of that stuff like the scrum and things like that they're going to really go after next week. And then obviously, man, that 2-time world champs for a reason. Last time they played the British and Irish Lions, the first game they went down, and then bang. So this is the start, and it didn't really matter who won the first, but as the away team, it was big that we made sure that we started positively, and but they'll be beaten up, man, and they'll be bashed up, but it'll hopefully be a good week for them they can chase something pretty special here, and that's the challenge, is you don't want to replicate what happened, but you need to get to a spot where you were last Saturday, but it's going to be a totally different animal. And that's always the thing, right? When you ride the wave, you get off it, and then you got to, ride the next one and just build into the week. And kind of, as you read in the media and that today, everyone's pumping them up and that, and it's like, well, that game, 55 minutes, if that scrum penalty didn't go our way, who knows? So, it's a bit of a, finally he starts ruling, they'll wheel in, that game was, the last 20 minutes we did nail it, but it could have gone a very different way. But that's rugby, and that's Test rugby, and what happens after that moment. But when they did, and a couple of key turnovers from Jules' penalty was big, and just we nailed some really key moments. But I think a lot of pressure is on South Africa to really perform here, and all that pressure's gone for them now. They've got nothing to lose, and there's nothing worse than a wounded beast. And if that beast is South Africa, get ready.
I went through my text messages this morning, what I'd sent during the game last night, and I was packing myself 40 minutes, and it felt like the 2011 World Cup final. It was just so oh no, what's going to happen here?
It just kind of felt like a boxing match, to be honest. That first half, there weren't, to Nuggy's point, quite stop start. There's only 29 minutes of ball and play. We touched on actually previously last week, we wanted to be in the 37, 38, and if we fell down to that maybe low 30s, we thought it would play into South Africa's hand. And at times it did. You look around the scrum penalties and dominance they did have there, but I think their efficiency inside the 22, they had 10 entries and they were at 10%. So there's just no way that they're going to be that bad coming in Cape Town. And I think also the way that they attack, they had a lot of loose balls going out the back. And so I think I'm almost more nervous now for the second test match because we're not going to get a worse South African team, I believe. The execution is going to be a lot better. And I think for that runs on the board, them actually playing that game, it'll be a lot better for them. And yeah, they'll be a much better Springboks team, I believe.
Nuggy, you've ridden some waves. I don't know if you played in that game in Pretoria where the All Blacks came back. You know, I think it was 2018, was it, where the All Blacks came back? Were you in that game?
Yep.
What's the secret to keeping that composure when you're in a South African environment like that and everything looks like it's going against you and it just feels like, wait, but then, you know, getting your head into it and finding a way?
Well, that 2018 one was interesting. Like they got a few lucky things, but then they'd stick to their blueprint of maul, try to get advantage, kick to the 22, then get another advantage. And that's really hard to kind of like, how do you attack back? How do you, like Kiwi, we want to attack. But that game came down to like just some key moments of just like literally, if you can just find one moment, then you ride the wave a bit and then anything can happen. And in other comebacks in the past, it's always, you go back to process more. You don't look to, you know, like when you got a lead, you go to the old 90-10 mindset of like offloads on, like don't throw it unless it's like gun barrel on. But when the game's on the line and you're chasing points, you get a bit more loose in the sense of like, hey, if there's something to throw, like give it a crack. And when you get an advantage, have a real good go. But yeah, it's more around trusting the process and you have to all lift, you know, 2 or 3% and then that across the board. Because they've got the lead and they're not relaxing, but they'll be definitely comfy. And that's when you're at your worst as a team, when you're ahead by sort of a try and a bit, you can get a bit like, we can try things here or we just got to hold on, you know, and holding on is not a way to win a game. But, you know, that comeback was pretty special, but it took a whole lot and everything and some.
The fact that the bench came on, but the players that were on for that 80 minutes found a way in the last 20 minutes to get the job done. It actually felt like the South Africans played into them making mistakes. You know, you look at the 2 yellow cards, just daps, which Jip does talk about, daps and dumbass penalties, and like those were a few of them for us to be able to pounce from there. But I actually think it was before that. It was like maybe the 50th and the 60th minute in that kind of range where scrum penalties, we were down in our 22, we're giving away a few things, but we were just holding on and being able to just stay in the fight. And I can only imagine, Aaron, like in those kind of situations, it's the toughest, right? Because you're in Ellis Park, it's tough to breathe, it's tough to think cognitively to be able to have those conversations. But that's the one thing I guess I was watching that I was most proud about the All Blacks, because they found a way in really trying conditions in the first test match in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think that was the thing I found most interesting was our line-out attack with the full-man line-out and Artie bouncing back and getting us really aggressively into that transition zone, which creates play, but we still didn't get much off it. But then the South Africans really didn't show much, if anything. It's a lot of same way plays, trying to brute us, and you know the caliber of backs they had. I was quite shocked that they didn't really have a crack. So yeah, hopefully we see the ball move, get a bit more air from them as well. Like it's in them, and they've got some classy backs, and that's the last thing we want to see as All Black fans. But like for a spectacle, I think it'd be awesome to see. It's just that I was really impressed. Like we're moving the ball quick, throwing offloads. You know, once we started tipping the ball on our forward pods and moving it out the back, but also playing the like percentage game. But I think that group's in a really good spot. It looks mentally tough when things get tough. It doesn't look frazzled. They look calm. They actually like happily win a little subtle moment. I think early in the game there was some jitters of just doing some over-aggressive, dumb penalties, and they'll clean that up. But the South Africans will as well. But the prospect of what our boys showed and selection issues this week around injuries, concussions, things, but that team and that leadership spine and core of, you know, Cody, you know, through to Artie, and then you got like Geordie's game was outstanding, and then it goes through the team with like D-Max played a lot of tests, played a lot at 10. They're just all going to be helping, you know, Cam and Love run the game, and then what comes off the bench. But you know, we're in a really good spot with that sense of that group in a mental space of like pressure. There's no bigger pressure than Ellis Park, and Artie's talking to the ref was impressive. Not challenging, just calm and like, okay, this is why, but probing, and then just seeing the passion of the boys, like, that scrum meant everything. Seeing Quinn and that come in. Yeah. Like I said about Will Jordan, like, man, I was impressed. Like, wow, what a game. And he kept going at the breakdown. He kept having his chances, and he got that was a big penalty for me.
Yep.
And then that left-hand side scrum attack, like the game's in the balance. We go hit 12, roll out the back, throw it out to Quinn, and then a 50-22. Like, that is for the forwards going from a hard scrum, which has been a battle all day, and then to run 60 metres up the field, and then, little things like that. Like, when the game and the time starts running out, the pressure was on them, and then because of their lack of attack, what could they do? And when they ran out of speed, they just kick it, and then they're hoping for stuff. And that's where I felt like we had them in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think that in the last 10 minutes as well, because our scrum was struggling. And this is what I really loved about the All Blacks and taking the opportunities. Artie's quick hook and being able to throw that bridge pass. They were down two yellow cards, but to be able to finish that and being able to score that try it actually probably makes the game probably more dominant than it was. But those little things there around adjusting on the run, I thought the All Blacks did it very, very well in the last 20 minutes, and all the effort areas as well. Like Will Jordan talking around the breakdown area, being a constant nuisance there. Quinn Tapai's 50-22, but the kick chases and all those kind of effort areas that you have seen with Dave Rennie teams, you are seeing with the All Blacks. So I've been bloody impressed with how they did it in the first test. But Aaron, just wanted to ask in and around with Cam Roigard as well. I'm a big fan of him. We've actually talked about him a lot when we were in Japan together and that kind of stuff. And what's been most impressive for you? Because obviously you're a big part of New Zealand rugby and I guess the mould of what it was to be an All Black halfback. How have you found and what have you seen in his game that's maybe changed a little bit since post when you've left?
Man, just wow.
Yep.
Firstly, like, man, just Jesus, like, that boy, he's just got game. It was so awesome to see him like take it to the next level this year, like the level that like he's like, I'm the guy now, and what he did at Super Rugby, and then like the first 3 tests this year were just like playing 78 minutes, getting subbed at the end for like a bit of a, it's just like to have that endurance. His kicking gets us out of so much trouble, which is just like, he did one kick today, like we had that Artie, the scrum's getting buckled, throws it to Quinn, hits it up, and he hits it out to like 45 on our 5 metre line. Like, that's just, I know it's Ellis Park, but he does that regularly. And that is such a breath of fresh air. But I love his sniper ability. That's the jealous. Like, I'm still chipping away, but wow, like, if there's a half a hole, it's a big hole for him, man. Man, he's just like, it looks like he's infectious to play with, moves the ball, kicks well, he's smart, and like I think without him we're in a bit of trouble, and when he plays we are in good hands, and what a player, and I have nothing but love for the guy, and I get excited every time he plays, and if there's any momentum ball, I'm like, here it comes, watch out. He's gonna go in, and like don't get caught tripping around those rucks. He's gone, and his power, speed, and like his skills, and then like his mindset when he plays, he's gonna take anything you give him and take more, and I've just been totally blown away, and I'm so excited about the rest of his career and where he can go for himself, but also for the jersey and our country, and probably the Hurricanes as well, to be honest.
But what's changed in the game? I mean, you used to snipe a little bit. You had a wee right foot step that used to throw on the odd fullback. But, mate, what's changed in the game that has, I suppose, made the running game from halfback even more pivotal now in the way that your attack shape has to function?
Well, I just think it's like being honest about like your team's game plan. Like the way we played when I was sort of 8 years of my career was a very much a, trap LQB and just move the ball. And we had such great backs and generals of the game and created momentum. That was it suited the way I played. Get there, clear the ball as fast as I could. I wasn't really looking to run. I was just listening and just trying to move the ball as quick as possible. And I think the game now, defenses are just so good. The defenses have more width in their like general defense structures, and they know how to slow the ball down. And that is something maybe wasn't as prevalent in my early All Black career. If you got a bit of footwork into a one-on-one, that ruck is maybe one guy cleans and then it's gone, Now it's, one low, one high. It's a bit of a shit fight, and that's sort of, 1 to 1.5 second ball, not like absolutely 1 second ball, like gone. It's hard to find in that. And I don't know, it's good to see the more combative halfbacks back, but I think, like I said, defenses are just way better. Like defense now, the homework, the analytics around it, the knowledge of team structures and that are just way better and a lot more focus. And then you got guys like, DuPont come along and just change the game. And then everyone sort of seen that as well. And Faf and DuPont, and, it's just like you see mixes of players with it. And then like Grant Williams probably didn't have his best day, but man, he actually looked pretty good on the wing, but like he started running and sniping and that. But and Paul Reinach got Simbin the ball bugger, and I wouldn't have let Roigard score there either. So if he got the ball there, he's scoring, bro. It's a 2-on-1 with a wing, and Cam's gonna bum me and just dive over. So that's the old halfback one, but he saw the situation. Harder. I'd rather die on the sword than
you ain't
scoring, bro.
100%.
I'm not. That is not happening. Out of my house, bro.
I reckon it is with halfbacks. Like anytime I play with Aaron or it would be TJ or whoever it may be, you just do not want a 9 to score on you.
Yeah.
Just in general, but just like if there's a moment where it's just you and him or you and I, you just don't want him to score. Like they can score out wide or they can score somewhere else. It's just not the person scoring. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just us. We're just too competitive, Nug. Yeah. But that's always the case. Yeah. It's pretty funny.
He knew what he was doing there. If Artie gave that to Cam, it's over. Yeah. So he's like...
They used to be up against the ultimate pest. Like Faf was about as pesty as it got around the scrum there.
Yeah, well, I think that was the thing I saw in the game, which was funny, was they're still doing that same kind of D system with their off-phase play, like strikes. 9 would be their last defender, and then they can have 2 backfield. And poor Grant Williams, like, I think he was in 3 of their tries. Like the guy either missed the tackle or the tackle went through. Like Jules' try, when they switched back to like Toops, and then like the try, like other things, and it's just like I think they might have obviously been trying to find him, but like he's not Faf. Like Faf defensively is a terror and comes and then stays, rushes all the way, intercepts it. Like he's just so brilliant at that kind of like spooking deep. So it's like they jam, but then they come up, they don't. They want to corral you in, and like he was so good at that. And he got a bit found out the ball. I felt for him, and then I didn't mind too much. But like Faf he didn't talk at all. He'd just be into it, and then you feel like I need to be a bit more like that. And then it's like you're off your game trying to be something you're not. Like you get like your head about it, and then he's scurrying around trying to scrap 6'5" dudes, but he's a good agitator, and he was just like he's an amazing guy, and you don't win 2 World Cups if you ain't pretty special.
Looks good in Budgie Smugglers too.
It's like once a year you always see it posting out, eh?
What do you got, mate?
No, absolutely not. You don't want to see me in Budgie Smugglers, that's for sure.
Yeah, mate, one of the things that we saw was Fabian Holland really pressuring the halfback, like really coming through on Williams 3 or 4 times until he finally got that charge down. How do you end up in a position where a lot can come from the back there and get on top of you?
It's the old conundrum, right, Bryn, of, how many people do you have in your, ladder, whatever you want to call it, your cradle. So you got more numbers in making it an easier kick, and then less in your D chase line. And then, so you kind of try to come up with a uniform number like ruck, bracer 2 or 1, or, and they'll fix that. And Fabian was coming from the blind side, which was really smart to do, especially when he's trying to hook it back. And Etzebeth obviously got done earlier in the game. He was way offside, but that's not what Cam wanted his first kick of the game, to get charged, even if it was attempting. As a 9, it's like your worst. Your worst
We
kick's
literally talk-
always your first one. It's just like, you're so pumped up, you're like that, and then you got to kick one, and then they're a bit more explosive than they normally are. So they might jump a bit more, and you're like, "Hee-ah," and then just goes nowhere. So, yeah, I bet you Cam was like, no. So, but yeah, I think Fabian's play and then like the charge down and the finish, like that was a gut punch to South Africa. And like everyone's like, oh, it's just an impromptu try. That was a big, they're the worst tries to concede sometimes. It's like out of nothing and you did nothing wrong except a guy had a brilliant moment, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, just that kicking pressure is a key thing. Even if you can't get there, it's good to have the nine think, you know, if there's something there. And yeah, it's just such a dynamic part of the game now. But as I said, if you add another guy, there's a less guy out there defending when they kick chase. And if you get the kick wrong, so it's like the whimsical thing is if you put an extra guy in, you better nail the kick because you're going to have probably no pressure. And then if you have one less, you're probably better at, if they catch, counter ruck, pressure the ruck, slow it down, or turn the ruck over. So, yeah, it's the most common question I get asked, why are we bloody box kick? It's like, well, it's just part of the game.
And that's probably like one thing I found on the weekend. We actually kicked more than the Springboks. But our kicks, you know, you talk around Quinn Tapai's 50-22 attacking kicks to be able to try and get the ball back, and even our contestable as well. Like Cam Roigard could put snow on the ball, so we've touched on it a lot around him being able to be very good around that kicking and being able to get up for the ball. So, and it's one thing I did talk around last week is that were we going to be able to do if we didn't get the gain line percentage, if we didn't get kind of the continuity and the go forward ball, would we go to a traditional contestable game? And look, we kicked maybe 19 times, South Africa 17, and so the growth and you know still having optimism, but at the same time, like it's really important to understand when you've lost, you've lost, and it's more so like, okay, cool, let's reset, let's go to a contestable and not being able to put ourselves under pressure because they have very good jacklers as well. So I guess for you as a nine as well, were you impressed around our kicking game and seeing that we were able to, I guess, get that balance really, really good?
I think that was the way after the first 20 of both teams sort of tried to have a crack, it was like, okay. And just reading energy and flow, there wasn't much more the teams could offer. If there wasn't many wide plays like stroked and they all went crash transition, try to play at speed, and both teams sort of, they're easier to defend than a bit of trickery. And I think it became that because of the conditions. Like paramountly, it was once boys are buggered and you can't get around the corner and you can't create momentum and speed, and the All Blacks really struggled to gain line. We would throw it at the back, and the Springboks didn't really do much either. And the funniest thing is their attack when they went down to 13, when they went very direct and quite narrow, they were getting quite good inroads. And even though you've got guys out on the edge, they only had 13 and they were just hammering through, you know, channel 1 and 2. It was like we couldn't really stop it like consistently. So there might be a bit of something there because I was thinking, oh yeah, we'd be all right now. And then they went really close and really dynamic. Yes, they were making errors, but they were making meters and picking, like ghost picking. And so, yeah, Brownie will have he's got a lot of footage now, and they'll be doing a lot of catch pass in the gym and a lot of, get a bit of depth. And that was what I was most surprised about is they got any bit of momentum and then seeing Sasha like rush to try hit like a miracle hole. I'm like, is that the play? They're sort of searching for something special, which is not what they're usually really good at. They usually do it and pounce, not try to force it, you know?
When you kind of looked at what they were doing, and especially for New Zealand and what we'd seen against the Bulls and the Sharks, is that, like Aaron was saying, when we played closer, we got space out wide, and that struggled to get gain line when they were playing kind of within, 10 meters of the ruck. That's the major thing that they've got to get on top of, right? Visa could do it, but we couldn't really do it in the same way.
I just think like they defensively they're just such big men, right? So it's more so around taking your opportunities when they come. So there might be a handful of moments where you're getting good go forward ball, where we're going through the middle, or pick and go through the middle, or a really good carrier with the tip ball. It's then when we have those opportunities, when the defences are going backwards, can we pounce and be able to do that? And we scored 5 tries in terms of having like 29 minutes of ball and play. We're very, very clinical with the opportunities that we did have. I think we had 9 entries and we had 5 tries, so that's 54%. The set Springboks were at 10%. So, and I think that's always the challenge, especially against line speed, that you're not going to have many, you're not going to win the physicality all the time. And so what I was really impressed is that we took our opportunities when under fatigue, and our kicking game as well. We're able to go to our contestable games and been able to gain momentum in a different way. So, and to Aaron's point, getting that first one underneath your belt will be really good for those boys in terms of getting their legs underneath them and being able to go down to Cape Town down at sea level, which is only going to help the All Blacks. I actually think it's worse for the Springboks that they have to go to Cape Town, but the fact that the All Blacks are going to be able to be at sea level. So, yeah. I think there will be a little bit more ball in play, I think, in Cape Town. I think to Aaron's point, probably like to see it a little bit more because it was very, very stop-start, and probably that last 20 minutes just when the occasion came where we needed to be able to execute and be clinical, we were able to score points. And the South Africans probably just more to the discipline errors of having 2 yellow cards cost them really to push it out that scoreboard.
I think if you think about the tries you would score against South Africa, like everyone thinks bigger men, speed will score you tries, and like eventually they're not that big and they're not that unfit. Like it's actually easier to break a team down within 2 phases than it is 10. Because after 10, they're going to get even more structured, even more forwards are going to get into spaces they feel safe. So the tries we got were very much like on the back of good things or a penalty or homework kind of moves that were like, this is going to work. We tried to do the switch move off the first line out of the game, and it didn't work because they're energized, they're not over chasing. We didn't quite hit the channel we needed to. But we do it 25 minutes later and we get 2 loosies to fold.
Yeah.
Then you've got Grant on 3 guys and he's going, what am I doing? And so it's actually, that's what people think is like, the games always look different, and Africa is so good at defending. Yes, speed will pressure them, but the tries you get will look way different to say you play a team that wants to play ruck and run rugby too. Because you play a team that is attacking as much as you, they're going to be fatigued. South Africa are defending like they want to, and they will feel comfy and get themselves to spots that. So I don't want the NZ public to think, we should just like run over them. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But we're going to find and do our homework and find these chances to go at people in bad spots, props, the wrong defenders, and score tries like we did last night. Our strike ability last night was brilliant.
Yeah.
But then we were tough and overcame. So that's what I always think when you play them. Everyone thinks the more ball and play, you're going to get turnover trials every now and then. But this team is different. This team, the last 8 years, have got a B system that works with them and they trust it.
Let's go a little bit deeper around that. So when you obviously would have been previewing for so many test matches, and you're probably, very similar of what they are doing right now in terms of the defensive pressure. On the attacking side, like what did you guys actually try and talk about to try and nullify that line speed? You're talking around first 2 phases, being able to strike when you guys want to be able to try to manufacture it. But when you've got through your phase play shape, is there anything in particular that you guys were really looking for to try and get that border width or try to play an up-tempo game?
I think you have to sort of think about the attack against them as the first 10 or 15, generally, they are very up. That you saw the first 2 minutes when we were attacking wide, and then the carry off the sideline was like, you got to want that carry. Okay. And I always felt bad for the boys because that's when they were off. They are going to rip you apart. But it does lessen in that. But I think with them as always, you couldn't attack off every line. Like there were positions that they felt their backfield was comfy. You couldn't really kick. Like around the 40-meter line in the attacking zone is a pretty good spot for a team. But then get deeper, they might be deeper with their backfield, so you can attack wider and try and bend them and then create blind wings are not there. But some lineouts don't suit attack, and it's zonal in the sense of that, and that's why, a lot of plays when I played were our striking ability from in our half scares teams because we will look for a chance. If it's not there, we'll just carry, but we are looking to score from our half, and Rennes is the same, and they haven't showed much of that. But like I said, South Africa's defense is so good that if you get in the wrong spots against them, they're going to feel very comfy. Yeah. And then you get in good spots where you've got a plan and you can execute it, you can make teams go under pressure. So But yeah, like I think the hardest thing when we played the Springboks, I'm a halfback, so it's not really me, but your big boys biting their mouth guards when Visa and Etzebeth and Polisi and stuff where they're running, they're not trying to use footwork, they're running, I'm coming here. What are you going to do? And, like, yeah, I'm standing behind it and, like, those spirited performances that I've been a part of in the past of one guy low, one guy high, and you've got to want to stop them, and again, and again, and again. And sometimes you're actually just not going to get it right. It's called physics. 130, and you haven't got your foot in the ground, and I've had plenty of the Mullen, the Alande, and then even old Kesden Colby's tried to bowl me a few times right here. It's just physics. And they don't like stepping unless they have to. So, but that's it. It's more mental attitude of just like the forwards, like, that was always the game. Like, win the momentum, stop their momentum, and then squeeze them, and then they'll kick it. That was sort of the thing. If you can squeeze them the first 3 phases, they'll generally kick it. And they did last night anyway when we were able to do that.
Now, you had a pretty good record over there. You played 8 games there. You only lost 2 of them. Do you have any particular memories looking back of your time playing in South Africa that you really cherish, whether it's in-game or out of game, that kind of bring a smile to your face?
Oh, man, there's so many. South Africa was always the best week. It was, like I said, we'd come from Argentina, always generally, and you'd just get over your jet lag, play the RGs, get smashed up, and then you fly to South Africa, to Ellis Park, and it was like, oh, cool, let's do it again. So it's generally pretty hard, but the best thing about those weeks was it was always light. So you're trying to sleep, flip your body clock again, and what was it called? Meat Co. I think it was like steak, steak, chips, and passion fruit and lemon. Passion fruit. What were they called, Brim?
Oh, passion fruit and lemonade, I think.
Yeah.
Passion fruit and lemonade. It was like only a drink you drink over there, but it was lovely. And then you're trying to get used to the altitude. But I think it was more like, I remember feeling the plane in 2013 come over the stadium, and I didn't hear it coming. Like our security guard we had at the time would like yell out like planes coming in the warm up, like it's gonna fly over. I remember like sitting there stretching, and it felt like the whole stadium was coming down. It's just like, oh, and I was like, oh, like what the hell was that, And 2013 is the hardest game I've ever played. Like it was just like an absolute. The Springboks needed to win with the bonus points, so they just didn't kick it and just threw the ball. And then we had a night which was really nice. But like after the game, Test rugby, the beer with a teammate after the other team is very rare. And every time we'd play the Springboks or we'd play over there and that, we'd go in there for quite a while. And it was like, it could end up being a big old night if we were able to like stay there for longer,
Just before we do let you go, you've been awesome having you. We've could probably go here for another bloody hour, to be honest. Been able to talk code with you, Nug. But just also want to touch around Cape Town because, as Kiwi players going over to Cape Town, there's such a great support base for All Blacks, not only All Blacks, but Super Rugby teams when they were travelling over there. Do you just find that having the second test match and the fact that the Springboks have lost that first match, like it being, a missed opportunity then playing in Cape Town? Because we do get a lot of support.
I just think like I didn't play there till 2017. So it was like 5 or 6 times I played the Springboks over there.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, they'd never play us there. It was like they were scared to play us there in that sense of like they knew. And then I think Rassie and they are the double champs, back to back. And I think they want it like, let's prove like, even our people and that. But this tour is all about like they want to create a spectacle and in every way. And I think they know, like even just when we played in Cape Town and whenever the All Blacks are there or Super Rugby teams are there, they love it. When I saw that was like when I was like, can I try to get to that game? But it's like, oh. But Camps Bay, Tabletop Mountain, it's a pretty primo spot. And then sea level, hopefully it's not too dewy. Like when the boys played there a few weeks ago, it looked pretty slippery, that deck. So hopefully they all figure that out. But oh man, it's gonna be just like. Right, and after the, this is going to be like, the one. I know 12 hours ago, like it was the one, but this is like, what an opportunity for the All Blacks. That's what I'm excited for. Like, you can do this one, it's like game on. Like you can create some pretty special history. But yeah.
Because I do find that, like, there was so much hype for the first one, and talk about emotional dump around obviously being able to just have that test match. We get to do it all again, and we get to do it three more times.
Yeah.
2 of it being in South Africa and then 1 in Baltimore. But it's just like this greatest rivalry. I know, for all the countries watching it, like it's just a spectacle. Because to Nuggy's point, like I'm looking forward even more now.
Yeah.
And I don't think I could have looked any forward anymore with being able to play in Ellis Park. But shit, it's exciting. I just can't wait.
Those levels are high.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get through a couple of bottles of wine though, Ross. I don't think that'll be the case.
I think it might have been more than 2, Brenna.
Yeah, well, it might have been last night. We did enjoy ourselves. But but awesome.
Yeah.
Just a great start. And we got the one obviously for our South African viewers as well. They were just punishing us.
Yeah.
In the comment sections for months, saying 4-0. But no, we'll keep our powder dry.
This time they'll be saying, don't speak too soon.
And fair enough. Yeah. And I'm not. Sorry, I laugh.
Nah, do it.
I laugh. I keep our powder dry. It's a great first result. And hopefully we can continue it. But 1-0.
Hey, Nuggy, thanks so much, mate. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all your time and all your insight. We really appreciate it.
Cheers, boys.